Welcome back, everyone. I'm Winter, and I'm here to teach you how to play Protoss in 2020. There's been another big patch to Starcraft 2, but what do you need to know about the changes? What has happened in the meta? What is the build you need to use? Just about the same as last year. If you're in the meta leagues, and no disrespect, everybody started there, I started there. There's not much to know that changed. Maybe Zergs are using a little bit more in the way of lurkers, Terrans a little bit more in mech. But as a Protoss player, Immortals and Archons and Charge Lots will get you where you need to go. Now first, a disclaimer. This guide is not for you're just jumping into StarCraft. You've done more Googling than playing the game. Are you going to hold my hand and take me all the way up to the ticket booth where you'll buy a ticket to watch another hour and a half of videos to learn how to play without doing it yourself? No. If you played a few dozen games, either of co-op or the campaign, or of ladder, and you're kind of lost, well, that's where you want to be. You know how to use control groups, hotkeys. I've got very basic guides for that. You can check them out, description below. But this, you've got an idea of what you want to do, but you're not exactly sure what direction. Like, what plan should you have? This is specifically going to be a Protoss versus Terran build, but at the lower levels, Bronze, Silver, Gold, I think it could be used for the other matchups as well, with maybe a couple adjustments. So what we're going to learn to do very first is play with ourselves. Every day, you should play with yourself. What do I mean? Let's jump into SC2. I'm in the Melee tab. Alright, Melee. You got your Melee maps. Usually you have ladder maps. The ladder maps for the season will be the first 7 here. The rest are 2v2 and all that. I'm just going to pick a map. We'll start with Ephemeron. Create a lobby. And what's happening next? Switch to Protoss. And that's it. Just me, myself, and I. No pressure, no opponent. Because if you can't perform when you're the only one in the room, then how are you going to expect to with the pressure of an opponent? So I think this is part of a training drill, I guess, every day. You should try to get into the game and max out as quick as possible while doing a build that you're going to want to do while you're on the ladder.
Now that's the command. You got
this guy's so annoying. So, start out, hotkey my Nexus, build a probe. If you're doing camera locations, which I do recommend, they're a little advanced, but I like Control F2. I'm going to set up Control F3 with the drag. This is by no means necessary to start, but there you go. I'm going to select one probe, and I'm going to build a pylon next to my gas geyser, but not in front of it. There are more advanced tactics you can use, like walling off Reapers, but against Terran, especially, you don't really need to wall off. All you need to do is make sure you get your tech up early. So, I'm going to go ahead and build a gate there. I put it right there. This is something of a wall. This keeps Reapers and Hellions. Get a chrono boost after. So what are we at? We're at 14 Pylon, 16 gate, 17 Assimilator. You may have heard about building a second pylon. We'll get there. And then, when the assimilator finishes, okay, that's when I'm going to send out a probe. Or you can send out probe number 19. Usually, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later, but I'm shift-clicking to get 3 probes into the gas here. Okay. I'm going to hotkey this on 3. I was mentioning that I like to have a builder probe. A builder probe, I usually hotkeyed on 2. I'm going to select one of the probes mining minerals. I'm going to get a cyber core on 21. And then that builder probe on 2, I'm going to go down and get me a Nexus. Now, if he is doing a big early rush or something, well, I'm about to figure that out. The thing is, at the lower levels, and second pylon on 21. On 21, everyone. Get that second pylon. I'm still building probes, and I'm going to get another gas with the builder probe. And since I have no opponent, there's no one here, but let's pretend. So what am I looking for in his base? Does he have a barracks? Does he have multiple barracks? If he's a Protoss, how many gates? Like, is his cyber core at that time? What am I looking for? But as soon as my cyber core finishes, I want to chrono boost warp gate 1 time, and I'm going to build an adept. Maybe you build a stalker, maybe you build an adept, but unless he's doing a big early rush, then I don't really need a zealot. A zealot is just not very good until it gets its credit card charge upgrade. Zealots are just, they walk around and they look at things and they look very scary, and that's about it. I'm going to get another pylon. Honestly, I should have got 27. You might have noticed. A robotics facility is my first tech path. I'm going to continue building. Now, here's a good tip. Right as the Nexus is finishing, you can get 2 more gateways. You don't need more pylons because the Nexus counts as 2 pylons. But as it finishes, while I'm still building probes with that hotkey, I'm going to build gateways 2 and gateways 3. On 2 bases, if you're continually building probes, you can support about 3 gateways and a robotics facility, and then building it more. I'm going to get an observer first, and I'm going to build a sentry as my 3rd unit out of the gateway. And from here, I usually like to chrono boost the robotics facility. I'm going to get 2 observers, one for his side of the map, one for my side of the map. So that observer, sometimes I hotkey it. I'm going to shift click right in front and then use surveillance mode. Jimmy, move me. Thank you. Surveillance mode, which means even if I do use that select all army hotkey, it doesn't interrupt the observer. From here, I want to get pylons around the edge of my base. I'm just going to get a couple because I'm about to get supply blocked. My warp gates are opening up. I'm going to build 1 immortal. I'm going to build 2 stalkers. And usually
additional pylons.
I got supply blocked because I'm a noob. We're doing it live. Ideally,
Of the Protoss.
we're getting up to 200 supply as quick as possible while being safe here. This second observer, I'm a noob. This second observer should have gone in front of my base, so I have a little bit of warning with the mini-map down here on what to see next. But as I get to, now look at this. If you hover over the top right, if you look at the supply, you can see 40 probes. That's the timing. 40 probes. I'm going to get 2 gases. I'm going to get a 3rd base. I know it sounds crazy. This is assuming there's not an attack at my front door. I'm going to get a robotics bay, and I'm going to get a forge. 40 probes while still building probes. And I'll tell you when to add on production. At 48 probes, which is when we have full saturation. We got all the probes we need on these 2 bases. I'm going to chrono boost that, Robo. And I'm continually warping in stalkers, adepts, sentries. Soon we're going to go for more zealots. I'm going to get... Now this is against Terran. I'm going to tell you what the objective is. Not to get supply blocked. Wow, I'm so bad. But I want immortals, I want archons, and I want charge lots. But a lot of Terran players are going to go for siege tanks, marines, and marauders. And especially a lot of marines and marauders. Those are the big attacks early. So having a couple colossi gives you that option. I'm at 50 probes. It's time to go up to at least 8 gateways. It's okay if I'm not building probes while I'm doing it. That means I need to add on 5 more gateways. And now it's important to note a super pylon. A super pylon allows you to warp in 3 times as fast. It's technically a warp conduit. But it makes it 3... Let's give you an example. Here's a non-super pylon. Here's a super pylon. So you want to have... It's something that's close to a warp gate or a nexus. So now that my robotics bay is finished, I'm building a twilight as well. I'm going to chrono boost out. A good thing that if you're looking for what to chrono boost, upgrades of any kind. Warp gate, +1, anything like that. But I want to keep warping in. I'm going to go to 3 sentries. And sentries, I think a lot of players get way too focused on the sentries and say, like, trying to micro them with force field and stuff. The sentries are here for, if you're a little more advanced, you get hallucination. You press that C key. You can build a hallucinated phoenix, scout across. You might notice I'm not talking much about what the Terran's doing. That's because what the Terran's doing doesn't matter. The Terran player, or if you're adapting this, I will come out with a Protoss and a Zerg build order, which would be a little different. I probably wouldn't be making Colossi if I was specifically making a build against them. But your greatest enemy is not your opponent. Your greatest enemy is yourself. Now I'm going to get the Templar Archives right after the Twilight finishes. We'll get all these upgrades.
Upgrades finished up.
Going to 70 probes. I'm going to warp in Zealots. And then we're going to have all this gas. Now that I have all this, I can go ahead just build some pylons. All right, shift click, queue up those actions. I got a quick guide on the shift key and all it does. Get weapon upgrades. Shield upgrades are not as good as you think, by the way. Shield upgrades, they sound good, but they're more expensive, and shields come back. Health does not. And a lot of units have more armor, health than shields, like Zealots. They have 150. Let's get rid of that silly keyboard cam. How are you going to know I'm a pro gamer without having a keyboard that lights up? But I'm going to warp in the Templar. We're going to get some Archons. And at this point, like, once you get 60 or 70 probes, I really should have more pylons around here. 60 or 70 probes, and, you can have multiple forges. You're gonna be banking up money. It takes a while to get the hang of it. Like, who knows? He might be attacking. But at 60 to 70 probes, that's when it's okay to build a few cannons. If you see him moving out with that observer, you might want some shield batteries. This is all assuming, and as much as it feels like your opponents are attacking you super quick, I've watched a lot of your replays. I've probably watched more replays of your league than games you have played. That's okay. Even though it feels like they're attacking you super early, I guarantee you, there are not that many attacks before 10 minutes that are going to kill 170 supply of Protoss. Not even in the Masters League. So if we can get if you can get yourself maxed out, I'd say for bronze and silver, 13 minutes. Aim for it. For gold, 12 minutes. Platinum, 11. Diamond, come with me at 10. And this was not... I got supply blocked a few times. I didn't get all my production as quick as I could have. But if you can get maxed out on this type of army at 10 minutes, then you can use that select all army hotkey, and you can get across the map. What are things to look out for? There are a few things. One, if your opponent is only on 2 bases, if he's sitting back there, oh my god, I built 4 forges. Winter, you're trying to tell people how to play when you built 600 minerals of forges? What are you going to do without 600? Don't worry about it. Don't freak out. It's better to have more than you need than less. The focus, more stuff counters less stuff. That's what matters. This isn't like, there's no weight class in StarCraft. It's like, well, I only fight with 50 supply armies. And when I have 50 supply, I run up the ramp into siege tanks and planetary fortresses. No. What are a few things you might need to do from here? I'm not worried about Storm or Blink. The big thing is potentially going into Stargate. If your opponent has less bases, say they're on 2 bases. Okay, they're on 2 bases with tanks and a planetary fortress and a bunch of turrets. Never heard of this before. I've never seen it before, but hypothetically. Stargate, Tempest, maybe carriers, but Tempest, not Void Rays. Tempest outrange turrets and tanks. You just got to get a little careful with them, but be patient. If you're patient, I guarantee you your opponent will make mistakes before you do. So, this is just super basic. The real important part is getting your 3 bases up, getting your production up, and focusing on building as many units as possible.
Mineral patch is gone, and it's not coming back.
Fucking guy. But the focus, I think you should do this depending on how many games you're planning on playing today. Let's say your average game is about 15 minutes. That might be a little on the high side for a higher level player, but for you, like if you have an hour to play, for each hour you're going to play, I think you should do this, we'll say 2 hours. For every 2 hours you're planning on laddering, try to do 2 hours whenever you're going to ladder. If you can, at least play 3 or 4 games.
Your upgrade is
you should do this at least once.
Upgrade is all done.
And make it a little bit of a challenge. What's your personal best? Getting +2. Your goal should be +2. Archons, Immortals, and Charge Lots.
And still in the game?
And maxed out with 70 probes. If you can do that at those timings, 14 minutes for bronze and silver, 13 at gold, 12 for plat, 11 for diamond, I upped it. You know, those are still good. Honestly, maxing out at all for bronze, silver, and gold is good. But give me some criticism. What do you think? I know this doesn't help you defend as well against cannon rushes or proxies or things like that. For that, you might need to build more units early, invest more in shield batteries early, but spend your money, build probes and pylons. Immortals, Archons, and Charge Lots are still good, and so are you if you actually practice. So go ahead, get out on the ladder, play a little bit after smashing that like and subscribe and Winter. But how am I supposed to counter one Reaper when I have a mental breakdown? That's for you to figure out. But get out there, go play with yourself, and get those ladder points today.